today is 5 years since I robbed that bank.
Oh, nice. Big
Yeah,
day.
yeah, big day,
Wow. So five
big
years
day.
ago today, where were you?
5 years
Where
ago
were
today.
you? Where were you right now? Just like shitting yourself right afterwards?
I was under my favorite bridge right 5 years ago to the very moment. I was handing money out for people to go get rooms for the night.
You're high on the hog then. So
Yeah,
you're
I mean, the reality was it was less than 10 grand, and I knew it was just gonna
so
it was gonna go.
it was
I,
just
I
like
also knew
was it
I
just
also
like
knew I was
looming fear? Was it
oh
like
yeah, because
that?
I also knew I was going to jail like really really soon. I was doing just I knew I was going to jail, so it
Mm-hmm.
just kind of yeah
Yeah, that type of just like, all right, I'm gonna do what I can to ignore this and not think about it. Type of fear and anxiety and shame and everything.
yeah it was not cool. But hey, things are very very different now.
Yeah, thank God for that. Yeah.
Yeah.
So what are we gonna dig into? What do you got?
All right, so making it through New Year's.
Make it
Did you see what Taylor and I talked about?
a little bit.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it's basically just a series of lives around making it through the holidays, right?
Mm-hmm.
Doing what you got to do, setting plans, escape routes, the Irish goodbye, the good old just
I
disappear.
I love an Irish goodbye. Yeah.
Yeah. But
uh,
mostly it's people early in recovery. How do we deal with this? Because this is a springboard to terrible decisions a lot of the
mm-hmm.
time, right?
Mm-hmm.
Uh, People will put off that I'm gonna get clean on New Year's. I'm just gonna get clean on New Year's,
Mm-hmm.
right? Or they're new in recovery and Christmas was the stumbling block. Things kind of start to go downhill. New Year's happens, and it's just this catastrophe of terrible decision making,
Mm-hmm.
right? And so ultimately, what I would like to talk about is uh, escape routes, plans, coping,
Sure.
uh, getting to that point where it's no longer just coping. We are living life,
Mm-hmm.
right? But
Mm-hmm.
let's dig into that.
Yeah. I mean, it's a big topic.
Yeah.
I think the first thing I would dig into with it is, I mean, the relapses that happen around the holiday. Um, a lot of it is just it. If your plans around it are a house of cards built on a foundation of shame and guilt,
Yeah.
downplaying, wishful thinking, where it's like, and by that I mean like, all right, I'm gonna go to a family dinner at my grandma's house, knowing full well there's gonna be whiskey and booze and spiked eggnog everywhere.
Oh yeah. Oh
But
yeah.
the shame and the fear of like saying no, I'm not gonna go to that, or hey, can my sober friend Jimmy come with me? Is so strong that you end up being like, no, it's gonna be fine. Wishful thinking, everything's gonna be okay. It's not gonna be a big deal. This has affected me in years past. It won't this time. I feel
Yeah.
different. Life has changed, and it's just like it's the power of the mind in early recovery to justify is
Right.
something to not be underestimated.
Right.
Yeah. Um, so yeah, I mean, it's a lot of those little tricks like the escape route and everything like that. But it's just like um, having a foundation of understanding how important recovery is. Where it's like, all right, answer the question: is this a life or death thing? And it's
For
like,
sure.
yeah, it is a life or death thing. So is your level of preparation and reaction to this life and death thing proportional? Where
Yeah.
it's like, am I willing to go outside my comfort zone and bring a sober friend with us? Am I willing to just not go if I'm in a really messed up headspace? I mean, um, well, here's the biggest one. Am I willing to talk to somebody else about my plan? You know,
Yeah. Yeah.
uh,
People. people will ask like, how do you know? How do you know when somebody's ready? Right? And I've told you this before. My I don't know. Like you can't just divine whether somebody's ready or not and be like, oh yeah, that person's ready. But there are things that you can see that kind of are good indicators, right? And that's one of them is an honest self assessment.
Mm-hmm.
Like, do they know where they're at? Right? Is it delusion where their belief does not match reality? Are there expectations outside of the realms of actually what's possible? Or are they actually like pinpointing, all right, this is probably not going to be good for me, or this is going to be good for me, right? Being able to be honest with themselves. A dangerous thing that I am guilty of myself, and I'm sure a lot of other people that have been actively addicted before, is the ability to lie to yourself.
Oh yeah. It's like, how do you short circuit that?
Oh,
You
dude.
know, like that's like undoing that wiring is one of the hardest parts
Yeah.
because like we could be
Convincing.
very convincing, most
Yeah,
specifically to ourselves,
for sure.
and that's where the and that's why like step 3 in the steps process, that's why like looking outside of yourself and having that be like a foundational thing is so important because it's like you got it, uh, it's almost like that first thought wrong thing, you
Yeah.
know, that like understanding, all right, I am an eloquent bullshit artist,
Oh, yeah.
and most specifically to myself.
Yeah.
And so it's like, all right, if I run my plans openly and honestly by another human before I do them, and then most importantly take their feedback, then yeah, you won't use over this stuff, you
Yeah,
know.
it's there's a very high
Oh,
likelihood
I
that if
lost your audio.
oh,
Can you hear me?
yes, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
I'm not sure. Oh, it might be on my end. Shit. I'm not
People
sure.
in the
Yeah,
people in the chat,
it's still
can you hear
bad.
us?
No, I
Can
can't.
you hear us?
I can't hear you, but it's lighting up like I can.
Can you hear me?
What happened?
Can you hear me? Check, check, check. People in the live, can you hear me?
Mm,
Yeah, it check, was check, check.
yeah, I'm not
Not
sure
cool.
why I lost your audio. I can see
Check,
it's still
check,
going.
check, 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 check.
Let's try that. Try
Check.
saying something. No.
Check, check, check. Oh, they can hear us.
Hmm.
Check, 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 check. Yeah, they can hear us.
Well,
You can't hear me. Hey, take off your headphones.
I cannot hear you. I'm going to try and read your lips, but I don't know how effective this will be.
Headphones.
Headphones off.
Remove headphones
I'm
from.
going to try changing.
Yeah, they can hear us. You can't hear me. Hey, take off your headphones. Yeah.
All right.
Check.
I cannot hear you. No. There we go.
Check.
Yeah. Okay. I'm not sure what
Good.
happened there. My God. I'm sure that was a tantalizing 2 minutes for
Yeah.
everybody watching.
Well, we got 4 people in there. Let's see. Anybody who's watching, drop a chat. Tell us who you are. Thank you for coming. We are talking about the amazing ability of the addict and the recovering addict to delude themselves, and how hard it is to break that uh, not just thought process and pattern, but like it's almost a chain, right? It's almost like something that, like for me, uh, I could convince myself to do anything, and make it sound like a really, really good idea. I fucking robbed a
Yeah.
bank.
Well, and it's also it's just like it's recognizing how um, reasonable it is for certain things in the holidays to be a trigger. You
Yeah, for
know,
sure.
where it's like this is it's like a combination of family dynamics
Okay,
and shame and guilt and relationships, and so it's like all right, going into that, it's almost like all right, are you meeting a giant with you know a BB gun?
a pea shooter.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah. So the family
and
dynamics part, uh, it's very layered and textured, right?
mm-hmm,
It isn't just like the simple answer type thing. The reality is, uh, if this is your first Christmas, right, there is no sober history.
mm-hmm,
You're setting that foundation now.
mm-hmm.
Uh, Things do get easier, right? But the key to it is, at least if there's family dynamic problems and you're obligated to show up, uh, Taylor said it. You're not obligated to do anything. Your only obligation is to live a good life,
Mm-hmm.
right? And
Yeah.
so if you have to show up, but leave. That's okay.
Well, I think and that's like one of the like with all the clients I've worked with over the years, as like especially in residential, like they'd been like let's say you're 60, 90 days into recovery. I mean,
Yeah.
that feels like at that moment, that feels like and it is a
Tri-
huge accomplishment.
Triumphant. Yeah.
It's like, man, like because you're viewing things completely differently. It's like you
Yeah.
finally put glasses on and you have clarity. But then your family has been in the same place from that last day you used, going forward there. And so they still have their own trauma and their own stuff they're dealing with, their
Yeah.
own fear, their own hurt, their own anger. And so, like, that's really what we're talking about here is like, do you have the recovery fortitude to like handle those sly looks and you know kind of people speaking out the side of their neck, passive aggression, like all those different parts of the family relationship that'll come out because it's like yeah, like myself, knowing recovery and knowing what 60, 90 days means, you like the client, the person that's experienced that, how different you are, but isn't
Yeah.
it reasonable that none of your family knows that, and so it's like yeah, like do you have, because I think that's honestly a lot of times like why people use around the holidays even if they have a plan is because they go into it thinking like I'm a completely different person now,
Yeah.
you know. But then their family is still talking to them like they just shot up heroin in the bathroom, you know.
Yeah.
And like,
Yeah. Yeah.
and
Yeah.
that's hard. Like that's like really really hard.
They do the let me look at you. Like, are you
Yeah,
willing to take a drug test? That whole
yeah,
thing. And the reality is, we, if you're leaving treatment, you're early in recovery, and your family didn't participate in family therapy or family days or anything like that,
right.
how can you expect that they just, by osmosis, picked up on anything that you learned? So there's expectations, right? There's expectations that other people change just because we did. It's not proportional, and it's not
Yeah,
reality, right?
yeah.
So having early in recovery, recognizing that you also need to, there's two ways you can deal with it: is have grace, right, and kind of just understand that that's where they're at. It's also partially your fault, but and then you could just ignore it.
It's the grace, it's the humility. It's like understanding that it's gonna take time,
Yeah.
and yeah, it's in order to like rebuild those relationships, it's through action and not through words.
Yeah.
Like and that's that humility part to like recognize that like I can talk a sweet game. I can outline a 20 point, presentation as to how I'm different now.
Yeah.
But the only thing they're going to really pay attention to is action. And that makes sense. It's like that's
Yeah.
reasonable.
Yeah. Yeah.
like imagine like the other way around, right? If one of them had lied to you or had, stolen or all the other part or it's even just like the anger that comes up from somebody worrying about you. They hear the phone ring at 2 in the morning and they think, "Oh, what happened now?
Yeah.
Today's the day." And it's like that
Ha-
manifests as passive aggression and anger and
yeah. Have you
everything
seen
else.
Baby Beautiful Boy?
I have not in years, but I have. Yeah. Today
Dude,
is Timothy Chalamet's 30th birthday. I'll have
no
you know.
way.
That's why I
That's
was just
funny.
thinking about that because I saw a thing about that. Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
funny. Yeah,
Hmm.
I think that did a really good job of depicting what the family goes through,
Oh yeah.
right? That dad was in pain,
Yeah.
right? And you could see it, right? And I've never, especially in my addiction, I never put any stock into what they were going through.
Well, and it makes sense. It's also compassion for self with that because like when you're in the thick of it, like you're going through a hell of a lot, and so that
Oh
kind of
yeah.
overshadows the pain of other people. But it's yeah, that like that fear, that lack of control. That's like being parents now. It's like you put everything into your kids. And
Yeah.
then when they're struggling like that, how it's like normal to blame yourself, to
Mm.
be like, what can I do to get through to them? How can I help them? And like, cause that, and this goes for like everybody, right? Like we are able to notice somebody else's issues far better than we can notice ourselves.
Oh yeah. Self cannot
Yeah.
critique self.
Right, right. And so it's like you see the brick wall that your family member or spouse or whoever is careening towards.
Yeah.
And that's like one of the hardest parts of this thing is like what can you realistically do to stop them from hitting it? And it's not it's not giving them $50 when they're down on the luck, It's
Yo. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
it's um
The
so yeah.
the accidental robbing of the full benefit of people suffering, right? It's the a lot of people don't
Mm,
know, right? It's like and the holidays is a prime example. I bet so a bunch of things spike during this time of year, right? Relapses spike, suicides spike,
mhm,
divorces after Christmas spike,
mhm.
right? All these things spike. Why is that? It's a very, very charged time of the year, and there's something about this season, right? That makes you. When I was in my addiction, it might be part of the cold. It might be part of the like trying to get warm. That makes you think about other people, right? And the situation that you're in. How did I end up here? Whatever. And but a very introspective time of the year. I bet you if we got some hippies watching this, they'd tell us why this season specifically. But
Well,
uh,
I think we could piece it together. I mean,
yeah,
it's almost like we saw a big version of it with like the beginning of COVID, right? It's
yeah,
like family members mashed together in a small environment with
uh huh,
alcohol involved.
mm,
It's even in the treatment world, like leading up to the holidays is the slow time of year where
for
people are
sure.
like seeking help, and then right after the beginning of January, it's like
February,
yeah, those are the busiest times of year, and
booming.
there's a bunch of different factors for that, but that at least makes sense to me, like why divorces spike then,
Yeah,
you know. But yeah, I think and then just like shifting it towards like New Year's, I mean, because like New Year's is another that's a huge one,
for sure.
especially for the younger crew. Like I remember, I got sober when I was 26,
Pretty
and
young.
there was and at that time I felt like this old sage.
Yeah,
Now looking back on it, I was a baby,
yeah.
but like that FOMO was very real.
Really?
Oh yeah, where it's like I think of all of like the concerts and the fun things that people are doing, and then here I am stuck at home, and it was
Huh?
just it was kind of a poor me pity party type of a thing instead of it took a while to kind of get to a place of empowerment around New Year's, of um, not even just like say empowerment, but then I think it's also just a part that comes with age. Like the last thing I want to do is go out and do tequila shots until 1 in the morning, and that's probably a part of just being older. You know,
Yeah.
like back when I was in the thick of it, it was like yeah, um, like I can't even name how many people I've worked with over the years that went and like no, I'm gonna be the DD. It's gonna be fine. I just want to be a part of the fun, and coming up with like reason after reason after reason, and it's like I've never seen that work out. For someone in early recovery to be the DD at a New Year's Eve party,
Drinking party. Yeah.
but and it's also, and by saying that I mean not in the immediate necessarily, but it's also
The ripple
like
effect
the
of
ripple effect of that. Yeah.
right.
Where it's like, all right, you white knuckle it through that night, but then it's a month later, you know, and
Yeah. The cascading effects of exposure, right? Like we
yeah.
so protecting your peace, right? Like that really goes and the FOMO part. Young people that are associating that we have clients, right? That was part of the problem. They're associating drinking with fun. How do you
Mm-hmm.
divorce those two things?
Mm-hmm.
It's a tough pickle.
Well, it's
I
like
do.
they've gone their whole life, you know, they've gone hand in hand.
Oh yeah,
Like it's like knowing how. That's a big question right there. It's like how in early recovery do you learn how to have fun again?
yeah,
Yeah, like that's you're relearning how to do everything, but especially like social aspects of life. And that's one of the most beautiful things now is like I go to multiple concerts a month. You
yeah,
know, I'm around live music all the time. Like I go out to dinners with friends where you know they're having a glass of wine or something, and the thought doesn't even cross my mind. You know, it just that's the thing is like you know I'm 14 years into this thing,
yeah,
and it took time to kind of get there. I think if I was a month in, and I go out to a concert where people are actively smoking weed 5 feet away from me, like it's a completely different thing.
yeah, for
Yeah,
sure.
but like yeah, it's weighing out those pros and cons. It's weighing out the is any well, because that's the thing with it. Like after, especially after you find recovery, uh, the fun of using is completely shifted.
Oh yeah,
You know,
definitely. The perspective change.
what's that
Uh,
idea? Like, yeah, the expectation meeting reality, where it's like you have this earworm in your head that all right, this is the only thing that's going to make anything better.
yeah,
You know, like I'm just going to use it once. I'm going to pick it up and put it down. Nobody's going to know, and it's all bullshit. And then you dig into it and you do it, and then the voices of like counselors and therapists and sponsors are echoing in your head, and the shame and the guilt is just like
yeah,
gripping, you know. And
yeah,
yeah, yeah. So I mean, I think you know, for New Year's, it's basically the same as with the holidays, except you know the strategy shifts from social interactions with friends instead of social interactions with family, which are both really complicated.
yeah, yeah. I
Uh,
mean, part of the recovery process was definitely building that community, though, right? So you know, if there is like and so that's a big part of it, right? Being aware of triggers, understanding your situation. Can you tell I'm sick? Can
a
you hear
little
it in my
bit.
nose? Yeah.
Can you tell? I got a cough too.
I got this nose thing, dude. I can't breathe out of this side of my face.
Yeah, that's not good.
It's terrible. It's been going for days. It's been like this. But uh, yeah, that honest self assessment, right? The prepping of the and here's the thing: failing to plan is planning to fail in a situation like this,
Mm-hmm.
right? With no sober history, with no with no real plan, with just kind of a hope that this is going
Yeah.
to work. It
Yeah.
sounds, it even sounds like a bad idea, right? Well, I
Well,
hope this is going to work.
it's just like if you, all right, if the bottom line of it, if you think you have a good plan around like your recovery for New Year's, run it by three people. And if all three of them say, yeah, that sounds good, then do it. You
Yeah.
know? But if one, two, or especially all three say like, oh, I don't know about that,
Yeah.
then don't listen to the bullshit up here. Listen to them. You know, and be like, all right, well, what could I do to make it a good plan? And like, there's a way for you to do it, and a lot of it is accountability. A lot of it, and that's honestly the difference maker between the people that relapse and are continue to being stuck in this cycle and the ones that can do it together is just by like, it's like, okay, it's not going to be 100% perfect my way, but I'm still going to go to the concert or whatever. I'm just going to, bring this friend of mine with me. Instead of being front row, we're going to aim for that spot kind of off to the side where you're not in the thick of it. And we're going to check in every now and then. And like, if I'm in a fucked up headspace or like I am just obsessing, I see somebody drink a beer right next to me and it's the only thing I can think about, then like set it up to where it's like that person you're checking in, where it's like, no, let's get out of here. Like, no concert, no experience is worth the consequences of using again. Like, doesn't matter if it's the best party in the world, doesn't matter if it's the best concert in the world. You know, and
Yeah.
and that
The,
and that's the great thing about it now is just like being able to like go to a concert
yeah.
and then wake up and be productive the next day and not feeling an ounce of shame, just excitement. You know,
Yeah.
like that's
Yeah.
beautiful. That is a beautiful thing. You know.
Yeah. Actually experiencing the concert as well, like and this goes for anything, is like, the book says it. You can go anywhere, right? Like you reach a certain understanding or a certain point in your recovery, and you can justifiably go anywhere you want.
Mm-hmm.
Right, contingent on your spiritual fitness. Right, how are you doing? What are you doing? Right, why are you doing it? Asking yourself constantly, like, is this legitimate, or am I like just playing the cards and kind of like faking the funk?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, and that's that daily ritual. Like, I'm such a huge advocate for that. Of like, how do you continue to challenge yourself and just like test the temperature of where am I at today?
Yeah.
Like that's something I continue to do. Let me show you this actually. So I got these for my sponsees that I work with, and they are the Modern Stoic
Ah.
daily flashcards.
Ah.
All right, and it's got a little stand, and it's got a piece of wisdom on the front.
Oh, dude, that is so cool.
Let's see, is it flipped for the people then? It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters.
Uh
And
huh.
then on the back of it, it explains like the piece of wisdom behind it, and it's like the reason I got this for them was so that, all right, because I'll hear that all the time. It's like, well, I don't got anything going on. I don't know what to journal about. And it's like, well, just freaking flip one of these cards and then write about that. you know, Openly and honestly, how do I do that thing? Um, you know.
And Taylor and I kind of talked about this. It's like solitude versus isolation,
Oh, that's a big one. So
right?
it's like,
Like
how do you
what?
what'd you come up with? How do you define the difference?
Okay, so obviously it's perspective plays a huge part in this, right? But I mean, so it's 2025, right? 21st century. Uh, we are all just off the bat. There's no healthy communication. We aren't taught about being healthy men. We're taught about the complete opposite, right? And so, when the Stoic philosophers and like during the Renaissance and like those times, people actually, it was a mainstream topic about how do you deal with things, right? What do you do as a man? What are the responsibilities? what are the obligations, and how do you not just fulfill those obligations, but like how do you actually perform, right? And so isolation is when you are stuck in your head, right?
Mm.
Isolation is when you are not reflecting, but you are fearing, right? And then the solitude is when you can reflect instead of fear, right?
Right. Yeah.
That's what I think, right? It's a perspective shift around are you able to introspectively kind of pick apart whatever it is and then take those lessons and learn from it, right?
And how much
Versus the
it's like avoiding, you know?
oh yeah.
So it's like, all right, if I am avoiding a conversation or a social thing or a work obligation or something, like I got people texting me and I'm just ignoring them, um, then that kind of veers towards isolation. But if
Yeah.
it's like, all right, because I know, like for me, some of the best ways for me to refill my tank when I've had a busy week is just quietude of like, all right, reading a book, just time alone, and it's like, and I need that for my brain to kind of be in a good place,
Yeah.
and so it's almost that's the balance point of like, and it because that's the crossover between this and even just what we were talking about. It's like, what's your motivation? Is my
Yeah.
motivation filling my tank, or is my motivation dissociating and numbing out from the world? You know, and because there's something to be said for solitude. I mean,
Oh, it's important. It's
it's very
massively
important.
important.
Yeah.
That self-reflection and that time alone. You know, they call it's I think it's like 2:45 in the morning is the best time for a person to be awake, right? You have the world to yourself. It's quiet.
Dude, 2:45.
They did they did this. Yeah, they did this
I think I saw that Mark Wahlberg, like his schedule. Like that he you ever see his like workout schedule and like his
no, but it's
self-care
probably
stuff?
amazing. He's in great shape.
Oh, the dude gets up at like yeah, 2:33 in the morning.
Yeah.
You know. That's
Yeah, there's
that's
something
something to
about
stand
like
for. Yeah.
there's something about like alignment and being in solitude, right? Alone with your thought. And then the amount of things that you can accomplish while the rest of the world is asleep. You
Hmm.
know, there's a lot of things that go into it. But, you know, you look at like the original Stoics and how they were handling things. A lot of that stuff was in solitude. They were dealing with their problems by themselves and doing it with class.
Well, and that was even like some Marcus Aurelius. Let's see, do I got it? Because I got my whole shelf of philosophy here.
Yeah.
The
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
meditations. So this is basically his journal, you
Yeah.
know,
Oh yeah.
and he that was like one of the revolutionary things of him is like, because he was the
The
emperor
emperor, yeah.
of
Rome.
Rome, and he would intentionally take an hour to himself
Yeah.
every day to journal, and he would prioritize that. And then those pieces of insight are ultimately what reverberated out to make those like amazing pieces of wisdom,
Yeah.
and but that's the crazy thing about it is like when things are busy, what's the first thing that gets chopped off the schedule? And it's time for ourselves,
For
you
sure.
know. It's going to the gym, it's meditating, it's exercise, it's sleep. It's like, no, those are less important. And I used to ask this question. I'd pose this to clients, of all right, at what point in your life did you convince yourself that self-care was optional?
Uh
Yeah. And it's like, no, it's ingrained from a very early age that self-care is optional. So it's learning like the reality is like, no, this is, like you're sharpening the axe.
well,
Yeah.
dude,
Like,
nobody's taught today at least. I've never met anybody. I personally has never met anybody who that was taught to them self-care, right?
right.
Women will do makeup, right? That's completely different than what we're talking about, right? They spend a lot of time on their looks, right? But I don't know anybody that was ever taught to like in solitude reflect on your day, in
Mm.
solitude in the morning reflect on what you're going to do today. There was no Yeah, this is what I talk about. Like, there is no difference between a boy and a man anymore, other than, there is no coming of age. There is no
Well, yeah,
ritualistic.
because I've gone through that thought experiment of like, all right, let's say I can jump into a time machine and have an hour conversation with myself when I was like 15.
Uh huh.
I wouldn't have listened to a goddamn word
Me either.
that future me would have said.
Yeah.
Like, you know, like it'd be this most miraculous moment of like, whoa. But then after that, it's like that guy doesn't know what the fuck he's talking about. You
Well,
know.
and especially because you're gonna be telling you, like for me, what I would be telling myself is, uh, but see, you know what? I really like where I ended up.
No, it's true, right? And that's the ultimate part of it is like we're the sum of our parts. And that's even something I was journaling about the other day. And this was especially a big like thought of mine when I was really wrapped up in regrets,
Yeah.
in early recovery of God, I wish I'd done this, I wish I'd done that, I wish I could talk to myself again. But it's like I'm ultimately very happy with where I'm at in life
Yeah.
and the
Oh yeah.
things and the people and the brain that I have now. And it would be naive to think that I could somehow achieve this place without slogging through all the shit.
So what would you tell
Like,
yourself?
man, that's a good question. Probably because like the hallmark of like when I was in early active drug use was anxiety. Was unmanaged fear and anxiety.
Okay.
So I'd probably dig into that of like our imagination is 1,000 times worse than reality. You know,
Oh yeah.
I'd probably just I'd bring this to him, be like, here, read all of these.
Yeah. Here, check this out, dude.
But I don't think I'd get through to myself either. I think it was almost like a destined thing. I had to go through
Oh yeah.
all of
No, no,
this.
no. I
Yeah.
we are forged in the fires of our own suffering, right?
Mhm.
And when we
Mhm.
come out, it's nothing like we thought. You know what I would tell myself? You're
Mhm.
going to make it. Just just remember, because all if somebody could confidently tell me like, "Hey, everything will end up okay," it would have settled a lot of fear, right? Uh because there were many, many times where I did not think I was going to make it,
Oh
right?
yeah.
You had those times, right?
Well, and it was more the time. Like I think once I started understanding that um, just what anxiety is,
Yeah.
like
Well, what
where
is
and
it?
that well, it is the mind going into fight, flight, or freeze over a thought.
Okay.
You know, and it's basically like the unfortunate flip side of the coin to the relative comfort and safety that we have as a species today versus 20,000 years ago or whatever, where it was
Yeah.
like it was an everyday like you're gonna live or die type of no, you hear a rustle in the bush, that's probably something that's gonna jump out and eat you.
Yeah.
And now we don't have that, but we still have that wiring in our
Yeah.
brain. And so we apply that something's going to jump out of the bush and eat me towards, oh, my girlfriend and I had an argument, you know?
Yeah.
and and that's like, because there's I wonder if I have it here. No, I don't know if I do. God, I have so many books over here. But it's having a deeper understanding of like how do you actually battle or manage anxiety, because it's not like like that was the experiment of benzos and Xanax for me for a long time,
Oh yeah.
was like that is at best a band-aid on a gunshot wound. Like it'll help you feel good in the moment,
Yeah.
but it does not last, and then it
Yeah.
gets worse and worse and worse and worse, and then you find yourself stuck on a really deep level with those types of and for some people, because again, I'm no doctor, right? It's like there's the occasional person out there that can do a half a tab of Xanax once a month and be fine. That was
Yeah.
not my experience.
No, 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 no. Dude, I,
If one is good,
benzos,
two is so much better.
yeah,
You know.
benzos were a time travel technology for me. I would
Yeah.
black out and wake up 3 days later.
Oh yeah. I've got stories on stories about that one. Yeah.
Yeah,
But that was like the starting point of it was I have these panic attacks. I got to manage this. And like, and that's true. Like when you're at that place where you're having panic attacks, I mean, anxiety is debilitating.
can
But
be.
but it's like, that's the way through though is by rewiring your brain. It's
Yo,
not it's like you and there's a balance point with it where there's some medications you can take that can kind of help ease, that suffering while you're doing the work, but you got to do the work,
oh
you
yeah,
know.
dude. That all too often is left out, right? The work is massively important, whether it's with a therapist or with whoever. Therapy played a huge part in me getting clean this time,
Oh yeah.
right? And
Oh
like
yeah.
I think I can attribute. It's very easy to get clean. It's very hard to stay clean. There's a lot of work that goes into staying clean, and one of those core pieces for me was therapy. Uh, and the way that I look at anxiety is that it is also a technology that was given to me by my higher power, right? It
Mm,
is an indicator, and I can use this tool correctly or incorrectly, right? It is an indicator
mm,
that something is wrong,
that's
right?
great.
And if I
Yeah.
can pinpoint whatever it is that's wrong and learn from it, right? It's one of those things where you never have to have the same anxiety twice if you use the technology correctly.
That's a cool way to think of it. Well, cuz that right there is like that's the big telling part of it is if I wake up in the morning and I feel this like pressure in my chest of anxiety, then the first thing that I try to do is like peel back the layers and understand why.
Yes,
And a lot
yes.
of times it's because, all right, I was avoiding something, there's some task hanging over me, or let's say there was a conversation that I had had with a person the day before where either I said something that I feel bad about or I
Yeah.
didn't say something that needed to be said. And then or like whatever it might be, like it's peeling back the layers and then coming up with an action plan around that where it's like, all right, I'm going to pick up the phone and I'm going to call this person today. I'm going to schedule a half hour to proactively tackle that task today at 10 a.m. And then take a step back from it, breathe, and move on with your day.
Yo, Taylor brought this up, right? People confuse tight management of your time with stability, right?
Mm,
Cynthia just made a comment. She said self maintenance is a better way to put it. Depression is often expressed by stopping self maintenance,
yeah, there you go. Yeah.
right?
Well, that's where it's like even like on the steps, there's a maintenance phase,
Oh yeah,
like step 10, 11, 12. They call it the maintenance phase. There's even like the stages of change, which is a big
for
thing that
sure.
has a whole maintenance section. It's like, yeah, that's the daily maintenance thing is very very important. That's a great way to put it.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
the rigidity that often develops around staying clean. Taylor said it right. The biggest skyscrapers are built with sway, right? They are
Mm,
mathematically created to move, right? Because I
I
think
love
Marcus
that.
Aurelius,
That's great.
yeah, Marcus Aurelius said it. It's straight, not straightened, right? So this is too rigid. You've got to have room to move, right?
Mm,
And so
mm.
being able to kind of roll with the punches and like accept things and really grow from friction points. Friction points are great, right? They're often painful, they're often uncomfortable, but there is no growth outside of that,
Well,
right?
that
So,
that reminds me of like, cause all right, it's a little story, tiny story here of meditation. Have I ever told you my meditation story of like how I kind of shifted how I view
oh
meditation?
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Um, so I was working with a sponsor of mine. This is probably about 12 years ago, something like that. And he was, amazing, um, amazing recovery. But then also, like, he was a legit Buddhist monk for 6 years,
Right, right, right.
and just like I'd have lunch with him and just hang out, go get a cup of coffee, talk with him, and we are digging into meditation, and I was like, I just can't do it. My
Yeah.
mind is just too active. I sit down for a minute there, and there's just way too much going on. I can't do it. I'm just a person that can't meditate. You know, it's for some people. It's just not for me. And you know, he could smell the bullshit like wafting from that. And so his question to me was like, well, what is the goal of meditation? Like,
Uh,
you know, like um, what is the point of it? And so like you know, rattled off some silver tongued bullshit of, you know, oh, it's the feeling of satisfaction and growth that you get at the end of it. It's the calm. It's the rewiring your brain. And it's like, no, like the big thing of it is, did you follow the rules? You know, and the one rule is when your mind drifts, you bring it back, and there's no set limit to that. It could literally be 5,000 times in a 5 minute period, but instead of expecting perfection, it's accepting that your mind is going to drift and focusing your energy on bringing it back when it does.
okay.
You know, because I had an expectation in my mind of being like a levitating yogi
Like a
atop Mount Everest,
Zen.
a Zen, you know, of just like, all right, not a thought in my mind, and anything short of that is just I'm not good at it, you know. So I don't want to be vulnerable, and do something that I'm not good at. And but in
Yeah.
reality, it's like no, like the human mind is built to drift, and so we accept that that is inevitable, and bring your mind back when it does. And that became just like a little microcosm for so many other parts of life, where it's like, all right, let's say I plan to go to the gym one day, and instead of doing that, I watch Netflix for 6 hours and crush a whole pizza. It's like, do I continue to watch Netflix and crush pizza, or do I bring it back and go to the next day? You
Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
and you know,
I had an uncle that, chronic relapser, kind of, and I talk about it all the time, right? But I heard my dad, and this is before I was ever addicted to anything, right? Still manifesting addict behavior as a child and all that, right? Molested as a kid, had some trauma or whatever. And anyway, I heard my dad tell my uncle one time. He said, "Don't let a relapse define the rest of your life." Right, and that could be, you could apply that to anything, right? There's emotional sobriety, there
mm-hmm.
is actual sobriety, but there's also like small points of your sobriety that you'll need to check and reset all the time, right? It's just
Mm-hmm.
part of being human, and it's part of being in recovery, that constant evolution and growth around tightening the daily habits, tightening who you are. Taylor always says it. He says we're working towards a perfect day. We might never get there,
Oh
but the
yeah.
goal is that you incrementally get better each day, whether it's
Mm-hmm.
1 degree, a half a degree, a quarter of a degree. It is that incremental tightening of the daily process.
Yeah, yeah. I think it was like, was it Vince Lombardi? I think it was, where we're gonna shoot for the moon, realizing full well we will fall short, but we will end up amongst the stars or something like that. You
Yes,
know,
yes, yes, yeah, yeah.
where yeah, it's like you aim for perfection, knowing full well you're never gonna achieve that.
Yeah, and
Like,
especially around the holidays, right? Around the holidays, it's charged with emotion. It's charged with, for a lot of people, shame and guilt, right? There's a lot of layering that goes into this, but I had to stop shooting for perfection. I just had to. For myself, I knew that perfection is unattainable, but I'm just trying to be better, right?
mm-hmm.
And around the family, right? I'll talk about it, right? Around the family, there is. I have. I've been clean for a while. I'm doing some different things. Obviously, a very different life than 5 years ago today, but still friction, right? And the way that I have dealt with that is I will continue to do what I need to do. And when they're ready, they'll come,
Mm-hmm.
right? I can't put
Yeah.
my expectations on them and expect them to, by osmosis, or even if I told them, like, hey, I want to, like, fix this relationship. I've had this conversation. I want to fix this relationship. I want to, whatever, get back to a good place. And really all it comes down to is me, right? It's up to me to act my way. You cannot think your way out of problems that you acted your way into. It's impossible.
Well, and then it's like realizing that one of the one of the things that's in the bucket of stuff we can't control is what other people think and feel.
Oh,
You
yeah.
know? And that's a bitch. Like you can
Yeah.
influence it by not making shitty decisions, by owning your stuff, but it's like no, you ultimately can't control that. Like if somebody doesn't like you or if a relationship is beyond repair,
Yeah.
what can you actually do about that? Is focus on being the best version of you, and if it's meant to be,
Yeah.
it's meant to be.
Yeah.
Then
Yeah. So like, and being around people, often the relationships that go to that point where you can't repair them, it is with family, right? Because if you destroy a friendship, they just disappear. Your family's there forever, and so going into these situations, going to that family party, going to the parents' house, whatever, and you have to see these people. The best thing that you can do, the best thing that I can do, is to just exemplify the best me that I can be. And
mm-hmm.
it isn't a faking anything, right? It's just and it isn't easy either. The first time around it feels awkward. It doesn't feel good to be in these situations, but it gets easier.
Well, and
Uh,
I think because that's the big question. Because really, what it boils down to is boundaries.
okay.
It's like what are your boundaries with family, and how can you like proactively communicate that? Where it's like if I see people drinking to excess, then I'm going to leave. So it's like A
Mm,
leads to B leads to C.
yeah.
Like I want this to like let's say contentious head-butting conversations with your mom is something that happens historically. Then it's like hey, I really want this holiday to just be us getting back to our roots of connecting and spending time together. If it goes to a place of passive aggression or anger or fighting, then I'm just going to separate myself from it. And so
So
it's you know
so how do you deal with it if you can't have that conversation?
if you can't like proactively have that conversation.
Yeah, let's say that like the other side of the broken relationship is completely shut down.
Well, I would hope it would be at least enough to where that other person can listen and hear. But then if it's to a point where they're not going to respect or listen to that, then you already have outlined what you're going to do. Like that's all a boundary is and it's an overused word. I remember like my eyes would whip back rolling so hard every time I heard the word boundary
For
in the
sure.
past. But like it's just what it is where it's like all right, here's a line on that side. This side of it is my stuff, on that side of it is your stuff. All right, so it's like, and that's the important, that's like really what defines a boundary is like I can't control what you do, but um, if you do this, then I'm going to do that. That's basically it. It is all it is.
Yeah.
If you do this, then I'm going to do that. And then if they keep doing this, you already know what you got to do. And like that's where the work is holding to what you say you're going to do. You know? Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, so there's a lot that like I just keep saying it. There's a lot that goes into these holidays. One of the things, historically, when I think about my history with the holidays, it really consists of something like this. Somebody will say, "Hey, what'd you do for Christmas?" And I'll be like, "Well, when was it?" You know, it's just another day. A lot of people like look at these events as like these monumentous moments, and it's like, dude, I have to break it down, right? I'm gonna go, I'm gonna spend some time there, I'm gonna leave, I'm gonna go home, I'm gonna do that, right? It doesn't have to be this giant problem that you've got to like, how do you eat an elephant? It's one bite at a time, right? And so you can really just break it down and make it match the reality. It's not a big deal. For me, the
Yeah,
holidays are not a big deal.
it's more it's like all right, that self honesty part, right? Of like, all right, I'm going into this family thing. I'm going into this event. I'm going to this concert. I'm going to this party. I'm going to this
Yep.
whatever. What are the things that I could foresee things going sideways? It's like, all right, if my favorite cousin shows up with that type of whiskey that I really love, then I'm liable to make a decision, make a poor decision. All right, here's what I'm going to do. Or, all right, who's a person that I could see myself getting into conflict with? Ah, my aunt. I can't stand the smugness or the passive aggression. So it's like, all right, here's what I'm going to do. I am not going to engage. I'm going to keep my distance from her. I'm going to da, 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 da. And it's like those little steps, like those little maintenance things. So those make a huge, huge, huge difference. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. It's bringing the reality. I mean, bringing the expectation or the idea around the thing back to the reality.
Hmm. Hmm. Well, the expectation is like, and then even just the what do I have control over? Because that's really, it's like, what do I have control over is how do I proactively plan for these things and
Yeah,
think about these things. And I'm not going to run from them. I'm not going to be everything's fine, and not think about it. It's like, no, I'm going to dip my toe into that pool and kind of see, all right, what am I going to do if this happens? What am I going to do if that happens? And then asking yourself openly and honestly, it's like, is this a good plan? Yeah.
yeah,
And because it's all right, think back on like those times when like you can recognize like a fork in the road in your recovery journey,
okay,
right? It's that plan before you did it. How many people did you openly and honestly talk to about it?
for sure.
Like very few, if any. You know, so and then it's also like that the whole the illusion of self sabotage. I mean, that's a big topic right there, where it's
For
like,
sure.
because self sabotage is for sure a thing. Don't get me wrong, but it's also like it's hopelessness in a different form. It's like no matter how hard I try, whenever I'm doing good, then it's just like I find a way to screw myself over, and that is like one of those like very very common themes that you find with somebody that's on a recovery journey. But then you look at it openly and honestly. So how good was I actually doing at that time? And so like I'll give an example. It's like I was working with a guy a couple of months ago who he's like, I always relapse at about the 90-day mark. You know,
Okay.
I'll make it 90 days and then something happens and I go right back to it. And so it's like, all right, walk me through the last time that you had that kind of a relapse. It's like, what were you doing then?
Before.
And yeah, what were you doing then? And you break it down, and every single time that he had relapsed, he wasn't working with a therapist. He wasn't going to a program. He was in a shitty living environment with family that he was butting his heads with. He was in a job that he hated, wasn't
Uh-huh.
taking care of himself. And so it's like, all right, is there more to the pattern than self-sabotage where you like it's very easy to like for a blanket of self-sabotage to be kind of thrown over the top of everything, but in reality, it's not self-sabotage, it's just not working a program.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
so situations like that, how do you get yourself out of that? Right? It's work. You've got to figure
Mm-hmm.
it out.
Mm-hmm.
You can't
It's
just
the
like
honesty. It's the honesty part. That's the scary part. That ultimately, once you do it, it's not as bad as you think it's going to be. But
for
it's
sure.
like you talk to other people about what your plans are. You know, you actively engage in what your recovery is on a day in day out basis. You know, it's that like a friend of mine runs a series of treatment programs on the in the South. It's called the Reprieve, and it's been named after that direct part of the Big Book, where it's like
The daily reprieve
we have but a daily reprieve,
based on
and
the contingency of our spiritual condition.
yeah, right. There you go. And it's just that where it's like, all right, every day I'm on my recovery is on death's row,
Yeah.
and I'm waiting for the governor to call in and do a stay of execution or reprieve for another day, and that is contingent on me working a program. Doesn't have to be 12 step, but working a program, doing this kind of stuff, actively like journaling, working on myself, prioritizing that time on my schedule. And if I continue to do that, then I'm not going to use. And it's like, how often do we think like it's also the illusion of this being like an unsolvable problem. It's overcomplicating this. Like addiction is a very complicated thing, but recovery ultimately isn't. in a lot of ways. It's like we tell ourselves it's complicated because solving it is scary.
Well, there's components
Yeah.
of it that get tricky, right? The reality
Oh
is,
yeah.
yeah, the reality of for me at least, you're right, right? I think where a lot of people get lost, because I did for a while, is that I had to accept that a lot of my recovery wasn't going to be logical. There's things that we do that just don't make sense. We just do it
Hmm.
because it works, right? And fighting that urge, for me at least, to make it make sense, I just had to let it roll, right? I had to let it go. And ultimately, I came to a place where I was no longer trying to inject my thought about how this should end up, and things started working out, right? As long as I like just do what I'm supposed to do, it'll end up however I cannot dictate how this ends up, which goes back to I can't control people's thoughts of me. I can't control people's opinions of me. I can't control the outcomes of whatever interaction that I'm about to have. I also can't control, it's like that hula hoop thing. I can't control anything outside of that. But what I can control that's outside of that is how people perceive me, right? Based on the things that I
Hmm.
say and if they
Hmm.
match the things that I do.
Well, it's like because if we boil it down and it like to just a handful of do or die rules
Okay.
of like, all right, I am going to consistently focus my energy on what I have control over and let go of the things that I don't.
Okay.
I'm going to work on a day in, day out basis to continue to challenge myself and be the best version of me. I'm going to
Okay.
proactively look out on the horizon for the things that I'm slipping on and try and bring them back to center with consistency. Then it's like, you could probably break down a solid recovery program to like 5 rules.
Okay.
But it's that's the hard part is doing those openly and honestly with discipline and every part of yourself. Like that's the part that like in early recovery is so hard. Like
Yeah,
openly
dude.
and honestly. That's the hardest part.
I say it all the time that self cannot critique self.
Mhm.
It
Mhm.
is a fallacy to think that we can fix the past with thought. It's just not, it's impossible. You cannot think your way out of problems that you acted your way into. But having a solid person on your in your corner that will give you honest feedback, right? But that's a skill too. Accepting hard critique is not easy, especially when you already have a shattered ego from being in early recovery. You have
Mhm.
no
Mhm.
self worth, no trust in yourself, all this stuff. It's really hard to go to somebody and be like, "Tell me about myself," and then hear some hard shit and accept that. It's hard to swallow sometimes.
Oh yeah. Well yeah. Well, and then that kind of speaks to like piecing together whatever patches of recovery that you can in those early days. That whole 1 day at a time, 1 hour at a time. You
1 minute
know,
sometimes.
that's like because like the therapy aside, all of the growth, the health, everything aside, like that's like one of the most major benefits of like going to a residential program is like I'm gonna separate myself away and give myself a foundation of recovery time so that I can like start leaning into heavy stuff
Yeah.
because it's not realistic to like process your complex childhood neglect and abuse when you've got 6 hours of sobriety under your belt,
Right.
or like proactively, because that's like climbing Mount Everest here of like openly, honestly asking somebody for feedback. Like, can you imagine doing that when you're in active use? It's like, fuck no. Like, why would I do that? But that's kind of what you have to do.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah. Totally. It's definitely a skill though. It takes a while to be able to process real critique. But something that's key to that too is like trusting and respecting the person that's giving you the feedback. And that in and of itself is hard, right? In early recovery, who do you trust?
mm, yeah, well, it's who do you trust, and then it's also what's the worst thing that can happen with that feedback? You know,
Okay.
it almost goes back to that that our imagination is worse than reality, where it's like,
Yeah,
all
for
right,
sure.
worst case, he's going to tell me that my plan is dog shit, or
Yeah.
that you're going on a bad path. how bad is that actually? You know, and it's that illusion in our head of like it being life or death for somebody to tell us, "Hey, you're fucking up." When in reality, it's like, okay, you know, it's like there's probably some truth to it, and I will survive hard direct feedback. But
Yeah.
like when you're so angry at yourself and wrapped up in so much shame and guilt, like that's where it's so difficult.
Yeah.
It's
So
like
how do you ground yourself in early recovery? Or, even if you're not in early recovery, you got a couple of years or whatever, and it's still a hard thing to go into these holidays and try have to face people, running into people that you did wrong after years of not seeing them, and you see them finally, right? These are all friction points and real things that happen all the time, right? How do you ground yourself? What are the ways that you have grounded yourself to be able to really put on your big boy pants and deal with these situations as they arise?
I think a lot of it is just those are the days that you prepare for months and years ahead of time. Yeah, where it's like if you're at a place of self acceptance and self esteem where you're feeling good about yourself and who you are as a person and where you fit into this world, and you have at least a base foundation of self worth, then the ego can handle Aunt Sylvia throwing a couple of grenades at you. You
Yeah.
know, um, but and that right there, that's the epitome of why, like in early recovery, going to a hardcore, like family get together is so dangerous
It
because it's
is.
like Aunt Sylvia's grenade is likely to end you.
Yeah.
Like, and if you're not in a place to be able to handle that, then why go?
Yeah.
You know, like, like there's it's wrapped up in those layers of justification and shame and guilt, and it's like I've disappointed my mom so many times before. I'm not going to disappoint her again by not going to this thing. But then it's also you start chipping away at the layers of that. Well, it's like, have you talked to your mom about it? Of
Right.
like, hey, I want to prioritize my recovery and being there with specific family this time of year with where I'm at physically and mentally and spiritually, I'm worried that something might set me off and I'll use because of it. Mom would she would throw a goddamn parade.
Yeah.
You know? Like she would be like, heck yeah, don't come. Like
Yeah.
9 times out of 10. But
So
it's
again,
in our
it's that.
head. It's the shame and guilt. It's
Yeah.
the not looking outside of ourselves, not asking for
Yeah.
feedback. It's just challenging those thoughts.
Well,
And
and that now you're talking about like the isolation, the mental isolation, the self-imposed mental isolation, because you could be alone in a room full of people,
oh
right?
yeah,
And that happens
mm-hmm.
pretty often in early recovery. You'll hear these stories
Mm-hmm.
over and over and over, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now, if you're in these positions, if you're in that position where you're honestly self-assessing and you're saying this isn't going to be good, do you stay home by yourself, or do you go and surround yourself with people that understand? Right? It isn't just don't go. It's don't go and have a plan to be in a safe place.
Well, right there,
Building.
that's the crossover between the isolation and solitude.
Correct.
Where if it's like, all right, I'm just gonna ghost mom and not show up and draw the curtains and order a pizza and watch Netflix, then it's like, oh, that's avoiding, that's
For sure.
isolation all day. But if it's like, you know what, I'm gonna go, I'm gonna make an appearance. I'm gonna show up with a sober friend of mine. We're gonna go there for 45 minutes, say hello, talk to people before the alcohol starts taking its effect, and then we're gonna go to a movie and do this and do that and do this and
Yeah.
that. And
The
that's like
sober
such a
potluck.
beautiful. Oh man, that's like a beautiful middle ground right there where it's like, all right, I don't have the shame and guilt of not going, but I'm also just not going to stick around for too long.
Yeah.
And it's like that's a best of both worlds type of thing. Oh, is that the baby?
That is.
I think it's the first time I've ever heard her cry. Yeah.
Really.
Yeah.
Uh,
She's been so chill every time I've seen her.
she does this thing where she'll be dead asleep and then like cry out and then fall back asleep.
Fall back asleep.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right.
Which is amazing. She's an amazing little baby. Well, all
Mm.
right, dude. Uh,
Any last parting words? Any last things that we didn't hit on?
Yeah, dude.
Um,
I think something that's important to remember is that tomorrow will come.
mm,
Right. Today is
mm,
but a fleeting moment, and tomorrow will come
oh yeah. Well, it's like the this too shall pass. You
for
know
sure.
the, and there's a lot of wisdom in that. And it's just, be safe. It's like, look at things
Yeah.
in the big picture here, where there is no party, there is no concert, there is no club, there is no social thing, there's no sex, there is no, activity that is worth sacrificing recovery over. There just isn't, you know? And um, enjoy a holiday, redefine a holiday. I think that right there, that's been such a good part. One of the gifts of recovery has just been like redefining the holidays. Like they used to
Okay.
be when, in for the first half of my life, the holidays were stressful and like pain in the ass, an
Yeah.
obligation that I didn't feel like doing. It's like, oh, I got to put on the button down shirt and go make face, and like plastic smiles and handshakes and small talk and bit, and now it's like I don't have any of that.
Yeah. So it's the
It's
reframing and changing the relationship
right.
with the holidays.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. It's like now it's like good food, friends, spoiling my kids, eating too much ham.
Yeah.
it's like it's like I love the holidays, and like those anxiety producing relationships of the past have long since been healed. Where it's like now it's like it is like an out of left field rarity if I get like that relative talking out the side of their neck or doing a suspicious look because the action has happened.
Yeah.
Where, like the action has long happened to where like it's um because if we're talking my adult life, all right, so like let's be generous and say 16 is when I became an adult. Like, no, I wasn't really an adult mentally probably until about 5 years ago, but um, like
Making
let's say
adult decisions
to make an
with
adult
adult
decision.
consequences.
Yeah, right. So let's say 16. So that was 24 years ago.
Wow.
So I've been sober 14 years now. So it's more than half of my adult life. By a wide margin, I've been sober, and so it's like that's the this too shall pass type of a thing, where it's like my life is completely redefined from what it was back then, and a lot of what propped up and made this possible is self honesty and questioning my motives, and not making decisions from a place of fear, shame, and anxiety anymore. You know, um, and that's so much of what the holidays like can be is shitty decisions based off fear, shame, anxiety.
Yeah.
You know, so I say
Totally.
just stay in, or that new season of Stranger Things is out. Do that on New Year's. Yeah, watch that.
Man, yeah. New Year's is an interesting one, right?
mm-hmm.
It is I heard somebody say it the other day. He was like, "I'm not going to participate in celebrations that mean nothing." Right?
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, "Okay, what does that mean? Mean nothing?" He said, ultimately nothing is going to change, right? He's gotten himself into a point in his life where his New Year's resolution was to have a good year, right?
There
It's
you
like
go.
we don't need these monumental shifts anymore, right? And so
Well,
it's
and it's
just
like they should be ongoing, and that's where like so you see that at the gym, where it's like after
oh,
January the gym just explodes.
explodes. Yeah.
And going
February,
with
that end of February,
the
it's
end of February it starts tailing off, and then and
yeah.
then it gets back to a normal place. But like that's the thing. Like let's continue to make these kinds of self assessments and intentions all throughout the year. But that's one thing I do love. I love about this time of year is reflection on the last year and like where were the growth points. That's where I I hate my own handwriting. I hate the process of writing out like that.
Yeah.
I type about 5 times faster than I write with a pen, and so
Makes sense.
all my journaling for the last like 5 years has been on a computer, and that works for me. For other people, it doesn't, but that works for me. And one nice thing of it is I have this history where it's like if I want to see how I was feeling, January 28th, 2022, I can pop up a journal and be like, oh man, and so that's what I did a week and a half ago or so here was so myself and my girlfriend we ended up doing we she does this thing with the solstice. Have I told you about this? I don't think I told you about this. And at first I was thinking I was like, oh, this is like woo woo,
Yeah.
like Wiccan shit. But it wasn't any of that. It was basically it's like all right, we're at the solstice. We're at the very end of the year here. We have I think it was 12 days until January 1. And so it was looking over journal entries from the last year, figuring out what you've learned, where you've grown, what things you still want to work on, challenging yourself with those different things, and writing them on these little pieces of paper, and having them be good goals, like good intentions for the next year. Writing them on these little pieces of paper, and then folding each one of those pieces of paper up tight, and then each night you randomly grab one out of the bag and you burn it. And then on January 1, with that one left over, that is the thing that you're destined
Ah,
to really put some energy behind. You know,
that's pretty cool. What
um,
was yours?
I'm not there yet. I'm still burning.
Oh
Still in the
yeah.
process. Still in the
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
process of burning. I mean, I got so because I did the list and I ended up saving it because I wanted to like rough draft it a little bit before I committed to and cut them out. But yeah, a lot of it is um, finding clarity on my path, on my vision. A lot of it was like discipline, and I'm already on like that's this weight loss journey here and just getting healthier.
Yeah.
Um, as of today, down 18 pounds since I started.
Very good.
Yeah, since Thanksgiving. Started on Thanksgiving.
Isn't that
Uh,
amazing?
yeah, man, it really is. So a lot of it was challenging that. I even put like life affirming travel on there. So not like travel for work and stuff, but like getting out of the country. You
Okay.
know, read 52 books. That's another one. That'd be a, that'd be a pretty cool one. Do a marathon. Oh fuck! I hope I don't pull that one. But
Dude, that sounds terrible.
it sounds terrible, but it would be. That was the thing with it because I was gonna not. I didn't want to half-ass it. Because
Yeah.
when I first was doing it down, I put like acceptance, humility, and stuff like
Uh,
that, and stoicism. And it's like no, like I want these to be like a specific, measurable goal.
very pointed.
You
Yeah.
know, yeah, and just ways to kind of challenge myself. Yeah, and like deepen my relationships was another one. So I kept them kind of broad, but then also with sub bullet points. And honestly, that's why I kept the piece of paper because I'm probably going to do more than one of these.
Yeah.
But um, anyway, I thought that was an inventive way to
Dude,
kind
that's
of
really
just
cool.
like, yeah,
That is cool.
do a little bit different than like because I've done New Year's resolutions before
Yeah.
and petered out on almost all of them.
Yeah.
How do I do it with a little bit more meaning, and then also intertwine it with my daily practice? Like because I have a template that I use for my journaling where
Yeah.
it's got a handful of questions that I ask myself. I change it all the time with like what are the hot quotes at the top that I'm really connecting with at that period of time. And I ask myself a handful of different questions, and then I also process any emotions that I'm kind of feeling. And it's got this like regimented thing to it. And
Okay.
so whatever that thing ends up being, it's gonna have a spot right there at the very top of my journal entry where I'm checking in on it, where I'm working towards it. You
That
know.
that is very cool. So intentionality, right?
Mm-hmm.
That is a huge piece of that early journey is like how intentional are you being with the actions that you're participating in?
Well, and
Is
then
it
it's even the ongoing. It's like I probably do more work right now on my recovery, or at least in a different way than I did in early recovery.
yeah.
And that is the gift of it all, where it's like my mental clarity is 1,000 times better than it was before. By just leaning into it and asking myself, why am I anxious today? How could I
Yeah.
slip today? You know.
Well, okay, man. I
Well,
appreciate
cool.
your time.
Absolutely. Well, you
I
have
think we have a live in 2 weeks.
cool. Yeah.
When are you in town?
I am in town. I think the 7th. Yeah, 7th through the 10th.
Oh yeah, so let's do one then.
Yeah. Yeah. All right,
Okay.
bud.
Yep. Thank you. I will
Yeah.
see you soon.
Cool. All
All
right.
right, guys. Thank you for spending time with us.
Beautiful.